Hello and welcome to another edition of Ask Ron. Just a couple questions today. First one says, how would I go about getting into fitness magazines and PR? I have done some things in New York on fashion scene, but wanted to work my way into fitness magazines. Do they only look at pros or people that are way high up for interviews? How hard is it to be featured? I've been sending in for local magazines, but so far no callbacks. Any help would be appreciated, as I respect your opinion. Well, first of all, I'm flattered that you're concerned with print magazines because, they're not as popular as they used to be. And, back in the day, that was the only way you ever got seen in any publicity as a bodybuilder or fitness competitor, whatnot, was to be featured in these magazines, like MD, Flex, Muscle and Fitness, many, many different publications. And now many of them are gone. But still, the photographers are really where it all begins. A lot of the times, say when we're putting issues together for muscular development, first thing we look at is what photos do we have, who's been shot. And, we work with a select group of photographers that are top industry professionals. And, what I would suggest you do is look them up. They're all on social media. They all have Facebook and Instagram. Send them your pictures. Let them know, you'd like to shoot, you're trying to break into fitness modeling, like to be featured in the magazines. Here's where you're based out of. If you're willing to travel to where they are, that's always a boon. They're not going to come to you. A lot of the shoots are done around the major contests, either the big national shows or pro shows. But generally speaking, these days, probably your best bet to become known in this industry is through social media, is to grow your own social media. You don't have to rely on magazines anymore. Maybe a magazine that you admire has a circulation of a couple 100,000. There are plenty of people on social media now with hundreds of thousands of followers, some in the millions. I could drop some names, but you're well aware there are these celebrities. So why are those people followed so much? And it's not always champions. It's not. It's some of these people don't even compete, but they have a look. They're good looking people. They have awesome bodies that other people look up to. If you're a very hot girl, your chances are, even though there's a lot of hot girls out there, you're going to get a pretty decent following on social media, especially if you're putting up a lot of scantily clad photos. I hate to be blunt like that, but that's how a lot of women now get tons and tons of followers, put up a lot of thong shots. Does that lead to legit modeling work? Yeah, I don't know. But generally speaking, you can become a social media star to the point where if you have enough of a following, you can get companies to sponsor you. You can get paid to feature their products on your social media page, to post about them. And that's also another way to entice these other media outlets like the magazines, who all have digital versions now anyway, to be interested in you, because they want to cash in on those huge followings. So they're more likely to feature, if it's going to be someone who's not a champion, they'd rather feature somebody that's got 1 million followers on Instagram, because they're hoping, that's gonna help them sell more magazines. Like we put good example, MD. At least once I know we put Paige Hathaway on the cover. Tremendous following. Michelle Lewin. Some of these women have huge followings in the millions. So magazines are definitely more likely to want to feature someone like that, in the hopes that it'll translate to getting more sales, more attention for their magazine, because these people are so widely followed. But who gets featured in the magazines, the actual magazines? I can't speak for everyone, but I think I have a pretty good handle on what goes on at MD. Yes, top champions, top pros for sure. Sometimes it'll be a top amateur if they have enough people are interested in them enough, or they have something that's very unique about them. Unfortunately, everybody thinks they're special and unique. Not everyone's as fascinating as they think they are. But if you do have a really enticing look, that if someone saw you on the cover of a magazine, like, wow, they'll pick up that magazine off the rack. That's a good sign. Again, it goes back to photographers. And another thing, it also goes back to these days more than ever, is if you're sponsored by, say, a supplement company, and that supplement company is advertising in the magazine, the magazine is more likely to feature you as an athlete over someone else simply because they're selling ads to your sponsor, and to give that sponsor more added value for their sponsorship money, even though they're paying for print ads, maybe digital ads on our website. We want to give them added value, so we will feature their athletes. That's the way it is now, because we have to give more to the advertisers. It's social media changed the game. Every supplement company has these ambassadors who post daily, and they don't have to give them much money. Give them a little bit of money, maybe a little bit of product every month, and they will post every day, and they have hundreds of thousands, sometimes a million or more followers. So that's great. That's great marketing. It's easy. It's direct marketing. The people that these supplement companies know, the people that buy their supplements are probably the same people that follow this particular athlete or model. So I know that was kind of a meandering answer, because there is no really clear-cut answer unless you are a top pro. If you're a top pro, chances are we're gonna want to feature you anyway. It's just a matter of getting the right photos. So we'll either have one of our photographers shoot you, or the photographer will shoot you on his own and then try to sell the pictures to us, which a lot of times that's how we get the pictures. Or if you're an athlete with a supplement companies will often have their athletes photographed too. Sometimes around contests you're competing in. Other times they might ask you to get in shape specifically for a photo shoot. That happens too. So I hope that helps. I know it wasn't a very clear answer. Next question, I promise I'll be a little more direct. Hey Ron, I have a question. How to get a balance in the gym to stick on fitness goals while I work tough labor job in 3 shifts on a weekly basis? First shift is in the morning from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then second shift next week is from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And the next week is third shift at night from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Sleeping pattern is changing every time, and that's the main issue. This comes from a guy I've had many correspondences with for questions. Darko Dameski from North Macedonia. Shift work, where your schedule is changing, very, very challenging, because our bodies operate on a circadian rhythm, a body clock. They get used to a schedule, especially a sleeping schedule. And that's why anyone that's having sleeping problems, issues with insomnia, one of the first things they're going to tell you is try to go to bed the same time every night. Then your body's going to get accustomed to falling asleep at that time. And it's a great idea. Unfortunately, there are jobs where you don't have that option, because like this gentleman, so 1 week he's going to bed, I don't know when he's going to sleep, but he's working at dramatically different times of day, which means he's sleeping at different times of day. I wish I could say just quit your job and get another job where you're working Monday through Friday 9 to 5 or something, but that's not going to be an option for a lot of people. It takes time for your body to adapt, so you will be fighting this situation where your body doesn't know when it's supposed to be sleeping, when it's supposed to be awaking. All I can really offer in terms of a suggestion would be, when it's time for you to go to sleep, try to relax as much as possible. Stay off of all screens, no iPhone, no tablet or computer, even no TV for an hour, at least an hour before you go to sleep. Avoid any caffeine. I would say 6 hours before you plan to go to sleep, especially if you're sensitive to caffeine. Sleep in a very darkened room. I turn the temperature. I do it more so when I'm out of town at a hotel and I don't care about their electric bill. I'll crank that thing to like 65 degrees, so it's really chilly in there, because colder temperatures do tend to make you fall asleep more. You could also eat a meal with a lot of carbohydrates in it shortly before you go to bed. Obviously, not the best idea for a lot of people if you're dieting to have this massive meal and then go to sleep, unless you just trained or something. But that insulin release will also tend to make you sleepy. So what I'm getting at is you want to do all the things that are going to make it more likely that you're going to be able to fall asleep when you need to fall asleep, because it's going to be changing every week. And sleep is so critical in bodybuilding. It's one of the most overlooked things. We hammer the training, we really hammer the nutrition, which is key. And I believe nutrition is where 90% of people go wrong. They don't eat enough. They don't eat quality food. They just don't treat nutrition that seriously. And a lot of people don't put enough importance on proper rest, getting enough sleep. The golden rule is 8 hours a night. and people will tell you to get more sleep if you can. If you're someone that's really trying to grow and put on lean muscle mass, even if you're someone who's trying to lose weight, a little more sleep is always better, because going without sleep puts a huge stress on your entire system. Your body's going to start pumping out more cortisol, which is a catabolic hormone. It's going to eat up muscle tissue. It's going to interfere with losing body fat. It's a bad thing. That's one main reason a lot of people have trouble losing weight, is that they're just not getting enough sleep. They're trying to get by on like 5 or 6 hours every night, and a sleep deficit builds up. You'll hear people say take naps. I would be careful with that, because a lot of times I've found, and a lot of other people I've talked to have found, that if you take a nap during the day, you're going to have more trouble falling asleep, say at 10 or 11 o'clock, whatever your normal bedtime is, because you're just not as tired. So unless you know for sure you're going to have very little opportunity to sleep that night for whatever reason, you have to be awake longer or get up super early or something, I would probably avoid naps, unless you find that they work well for you. If they work well for you and you're still able to get your sleep at night, fall asleep, no problem, go for it. But Darko, it's just important that you get the sleep when you can. Try to, because that's a rough schedule you're on. That's a rough schedule. Your body's constantly guessing. So you can't train at the same times every day, each week. It's going to change by week. You can't sleep at the same times. So you're going to have to do the best you can. Ideally, and I'm speaking out to the people who don't have that situation, I would really try to do your best to get on a very tight schedule with sleeping, with eating, with training. Because when you get it nailed down like that, where it's clockwork, my meals happen at these times every day, I train at this time every day, your body gets used to performing optimally at that time of day. Your body gets used to eating at those times of day, so it's ready for a meal at 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, at whatever intervals that you're trying to give it. And the sleep, if you're used to falling asleep every night at 10, 10:30, waking up at 6, 6:30, that's when your body it'll always want to do that. I mean, I've noticed, you've all noticed that if you're used to getting up for work or whatever every day at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, even on the rare times, say a weekend or a day off, even at the times when you are able to sleep later, you'll notice you wake up at the same time anyway. It's because your body's used to that. That's when your body's used to saying, okay, this is the time I wake up. This is when I've been waking up. This is when I wake up now. So I would do your best to try to be very, very consistent with all those things to the best of your ability, because bodybuilding is all about doing the right things day after day after day for periods of months and years. And being consistent like that with your training, your nutrition, and your rest, that's where you see the best results in the long term. So that's been a quick Ask Ron. Thanks for watching. Keep your questions coming in any way you want. My social media, on the MD boards, anything. Just get them to me and I'll answer them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.